Imagine a family tangled up in, well, just the deepest human contradictions. Passions, ideas, faith, doubt, all under one roof.
And what if a murder blows it all wide open? Not just the crime, but, the big questions about everything.
Exactly. That's what we're diving into today, this huge, sprawling story of the Karamazov family. It's intense.
Absolutely. Packed with intellectual fights, moral deep dives, and just raw human drama.
We've really dug into the sources, analyses, commentaries, detailed notes, trying to get right to the heart of it for you.
Yeah, giving you access to those key moments, the character insights, and maybe those questions that just stick with you afterwards.
So our mission here at the Deep Dive, as always, is to pull out the most important stuff from all this complex material.
Kind of like a guide, helping you navigate the fates and the philosophies tangled up in this unforgettable family.
Get ready for some, I think, surprising facts and maybe a few of those real aha moments along the way.
Should be interesting.
Okay, so let's start at the beginning, or maybe the source of the chaos. The father, Fyodor Pavlovich. What kind of man was he? How did he end up casting such a long shadow?
It's fascinating, really, how his recklessness, his almost complete lack of a moral compass just seeps into everything.
How so?
Well, think about this. When his first wife dies, he's apparently drunk, runs out into the street. Later reports say he was drinking and behaving so shamelessly that even the most reckless among us were shocked.
Wow.
And the kids, basically abandoned. Mitya, the oldest, was looked after by the servant Grigory for a whole year. Ivan and Alyosha shipped off to others.
It wasn't just carelessness then, it was active abandonment.
Pretty much. A total rejection of any kind of responsibility.
And his second marriage wasn't exactly a picture of domestic bliss either, was it?
Oh, far from it. Yeah. He talks the 16-year-old orphan into eloping. The sources suggest, she likely wouldn't have married him if she had known a little more about him in time.
16?
Yeah. And apparently she was just kept in terror. It's this pattern, you see. It establishes him less as a father and more as this destructive force, pure ego, maybe.
What the text calls Karamazov baseness.
Exactly that. It's this primal, self-serving thing that doesn't just define him, it kind of poisons the whole family dynamic.
And this baseness, it even affects how he deals with big things, like faith. He almost seems to mock it.
Right, and that brings up a huge question in the novel. How does a guy like this even think about morality or God?
Does he?
Well, we see him playing the fool with the monks, making up stories about Diderot just to, stir things up, add piquancy.
It's being provocative.
Totally. And later, drunk, he claims he'd be good if I had only been sure that everyone would accept me as the kindest and wisest of men. It's all about him.
Your performance.
Pure performance. He even talks about the Russian faith, saying something like, though I may once have doubted, I shall be forgiven if I shed tears of repentance. It's like repentance is a transaction, just cry a bit and you're good.
Not about real change.
Not at all. It's that sensualist nature the book talks about, just living for the moment, grab what you can, no real thought for consequences.
So from this deeply toxic father figure, you get three sons.
Yeah.
And they are remarkably different, grappling with this legacy in completely unique ways.
Yeah, it's quite the spectrum.
Let's start with the oldest, Dmitri, Mitya. He seems like, a force of nature.
Oh, Mitya is a force of nature. He's all intense passions, this almost desperate thirst for life that constantly pushes him towards recklessness.
He's called a scoundrel, but also simple-hearted. How does that work?
It's that contradiction again. He can be awful, impulsive, but there's a kind of raw honesty there, too. His big torment is needing 3,000 rubles. It sounds specific, but that sum becomes this huge symbol.
Of what? Greed. Desperation.
I think. And it's all tangled up with his love life. He's engaged to Katerina Ivanovna, this noble woman, but he's madly in love with Grushenka.
And the money.
He needs it partly because of Katerina, partly for Grushenka. He's already sent the thousands flying on wild escapades before. He embodies that Karamazov passion, but it's untamed, often destructive.
Right. Then you have Ivan, the intellectual, a whole different world from Mitya.
Completely. He's the brain of the outfit. Published brilliant reviews, known for his intellectual superiority.
But his intellect doesn't seem to bring him peace, does it?
Quite the opposite. It leads him down this rabbit hole of profound skepticism. He asks these devastating questions like, what good can hell do since those children have already been tortured?
He's talking about the suffering of innocence.
Exactly. And what becomes of harmony if there is hell? He just can't accept that harmony if it's built on the pain of a single tortured child. It's a radical rejection of any system, divine or otherwise, that justifies suffering for some greater good.
So is the implication that pure reason, without something else, leads to despair?
That seems to be a central tension Dostoevsky's exploring. Ivan wrestles with God and famously lands on this idea. If there's no God, then everything is lawful. Meaning no ultimate rules, no inherent morality, anything goes. It's not just abstract philosophy. It's a dangerous idea with real consequences, as we'll see. He even talks about destroying the idea of God in man.
A bleak outlook.
Extremely. And then at the other end, you have Alyosha, the youngest, the one drawn to the monastery.
He seems like the antidote almost.
In many ways, yes. He's the empathetic heart, described as more of a realist than anyone, which sounds odd for a novice monk, right?
Yeah, how's he a realist?
Because his realism includes faith, the spiritual. He has this unquestioning faith in the miraculous, but it's grounded in action and love. He possesses this capacity for infinite, universal, inexhaustible love.
And he connects with people differently.
Deeply. Think about that moment with Grushenka when he only gave you an onion, nothing but a tiny little onion. It's such a small gesture, but it breaks through her cynicism, moves her profoundly.
Shows spiritual connection through simple compassion.
Exactly. It's not about grand gestures for him.
Now, Alyosha's world, and a lot of the book's spiritual weight, centers on Father Zosima, the elder at the monastery. What was his significance?
Zosima is crucial. He's the spiritual anchor, this guide who pulls together different insights into a really practical, compassionate way of living.
What's his core message?
It's about that universal, inexhaustible love and personal responsibility. He teaches, each of you keep watch over your heart and confess your sins to yourself unceasingly.
And that famous line,
we are all responsible to all for all, apart from our own sins. It's this idea of radical interconnectedness, collective spiritual responsibility. It echoes through the whole story.
And he gives Alyosha some very specific advice too, right? Almost prophetic.
He really does. He tells him, be near your brothers, and not near one only, but near both. That basically sets Alyosha's mission for the rest of the book to be the mediator, the healer in his broken family.
And he also nudges him towards life outside the monastery.
Yeah, implicitly. Alyosha himself says, if I go into the world, I must marry. He told me to marry too. Zosima pushes him towards active love in the world, not just quiet contemplation.
Okay, so Zosima is this figure of immense spiritual wisdom. But then here's where it gets really interesting. His death causes a scandal. How?
It's such a brilliant, subversive twist by Dostoevsky. Everyone expected miracles, signs of holiness, incorruptibility, bringing glory to the monastery.
Standard procedure for a saintly figure, maybe.
Right. But instead, a smell of decomposition starts coming from the coffin, and it gets worse, growing gradually more marked.
Oh, wow. Not what they hoped for.
Not at all. This breath of corruption was so unexpected and so contrary to the general hope that it completely flips the script. The unbelievers are thrilled, obviously.
And the believers?
Some believers are even more thrilled than the unbelievers because, as Zosima himself had said, men love the downfall and disgrace of the righteous.
Human nature, huh?
Exactly. And Zosima's rival, this other monk, Father Ferapont, jumps all over it. Uses this very natural human process of decay to attack the whole idea of the eldership, shaking people's faith.
So it becomes a test. Is faith about miracles or something deeper?
Precisely. Can spiritual truth exist even when the physical signs are, well, unpleasant?
Okay, this brings us right to the core event. The murder of Fyodor Pavlovich. Mitya, with his open hatred and that desperate need for money, he's the prime suspect from the get-go.
Absolutely. The case against him looks strong, initially.
What are the key things pointing his way?
Well, first, he admits he had meant to murder his father for that 3,000 rubles. Intent is there. Then, on the night itself, Grigory, the servant, catches him near the house. Mitya strikes him with a brass pestle.
A potential murder weapon.
Exactly. And Grigory screams, "Parricide, killing your own father." Plus, Grigory later testifies he saw the garden door open, which becomes a crucial point contradicting Mitya's story. It all looks pretty bad for Dmitri.
But knowing this story, the truth is way more tangled up than that, isn't it?
Oh, much more. This is where Dostoevsky delves into the complexities of guilt, intent, and who really pulls the strings. Because the actual killer isn't Mitya.
It's Smerdyakov, right? The servant, the illegitimate son.
Yes. And he reveals this to Ivan in this absolutely chilling confession. He says he killed Fyodor Pavlovich.
How did he justify it or explain it?
He says he basically read Ivan's mind. He sensed Ivan's silent consent, maybe even his desire for their father's death, especially with the inheritance hanging there.
So he acted on Ivan's unspoken wish.
That's his claim. He describes faking an epileptic fit earlier that day as an alibi. Then, knowing Fyodor was waiting for Grushenka, he used these secret signals taps on the window, lured him out, killed him with the pestle, and took the money.
The 3,000 rubles.
The very same, which he later shoves back at Ivan, saying basically, see, everything is lawful, directly quoting Ivan's own philosophy back at him.
Making Ivan complicit.
Deeply complicit. Smerdyakov twists the knife, saying, you probably too are very desirous of your parents' death. Ivan, the intellectual, is now neck-deep in the brutal reality created in part by his own ideas.
So the trial. It's not just about finding the killer, it's a clash of these ideas about human nature itself. How did the town react?
Oh, the town was absolutely eating it up. Total sensation. The sources say almost all the ladies were on Mitya's side, rooting for him to be acquitted.
Why? Because of his reputation. The romantic figure.
Seems like it. People were less focused on the facts, maybe, and more on the drama, the big contest between the prosecutor and the famous Moscow lawyer. It was pure theater.
Okay, so what was the prosecution's main line of attack against Mitya?
The prosecutor, Ippolit Kirillovich, he laid it on thick, painted this picture of a lurid family background, Mitya's insane hatred for his father, all the times he threatened him. He built this fearful accumulation of evidence.
Like the pestle, Grigory's testimony.
Exactly. He hammered on the pestle, and Grigory, seeing that open door, which directly contradicted Mitya's alibi, and he argued Mitya's obsession with the 3,000 wasn't some delusion, it was a cold, hard motive. Plus, he played up Mitya's sensualist Karamazov nature, saying he was perfectly capable of parricide.
Made him sound like a monster.
Pretty much. Built a strong circumstantial case.
And the defense. The big shot lawyer from Moscow, Fetyukovich. How did he counter that?
Fetyukovich was clever. He tried to completely reframe the narrative. He argued Fyodor Pavlovich cannot be called a father and does not deserve to be.
Undermining the whole idea of parricide.
Exactly, calling it a prejudice in this specific awful context. He kept hammering on the missing money. If Mitya did it for the 3,000, where was it? He couldn't have spent it all that night.
Pointing fingers elsewhere.
Subtly, yes. Towards Smerdyakov's known cunning, his knowledge of the signals, the money. He even floated this idea that maybe Mitya did grab the money, but impulsively, like a Karamazov, not like a calculating thief, trying to paint it as passion, not premeditated murder.
And then the testimonies, particularly from the women, Katerina and Grushenka and Ivan. Sounds like fireworks.
Absolute chaos and high drama. Katerina Ivanovna, she's torn. First, in this fit of hysteria, she produces this damning letter from Mitya where he basically wrote down his plan to kill his father.
Oh, that's a bad.
Looks like the nail in the coffin. But then, full of remorse, she flips and tries to save him, claiming she drove him mad, that it was her fault. Total emotional roller coaster.
And
Grushenka is pure fire. Driven by jealousy, she physically attacks Katerina during her testimony, but she's fiercely loyal to Mitya. She says straight up, when he said he wasn't guilty, I believed him at once. He is not the man to tell a lie. Raw, passionate defense.
It shows how truth gets lost in all these personal dramas.
Completely. And then there's Ivan. He knows the actual truth about Smerdyakov.
How does his testimony go?
It's a disaster. He's already descending into brain fever, this physical collapse mirroring his mental torment. He insisted on giving evidence, even brings the 3,000 rubles Smerdyakov gave him. You'd think, but he's raving, chaotic. He declares Smerdyakov the murderer, but he sounds completely delusional. His illness makes his testimony seem like madness. The court just dismisses it. His truth gets buried by his own breakdown.
So, despite Ivan knowing, despite the defense's points, the weight of everything else, the letter, the circumstances, the biases,
Dmitry was convicted.
Right. And the aftermath. It sends everyone down different paths of suffering, but also maybe transformation. What happens to Ivan?
Ivan's illness gets much worse. Full-on brain fever. He starts having these terrifying hallucinations, particularly of a devil.
Literally a devil.
Well, it's presented as a hallucination, but it embodies his own worst thoughts, his nastiest and stupidest ideas, the logical conclusions of his everything is lawful philosophy. It's his internal torment made manifest.
Facing the consequences of his idea.
Exactly. He's wrestling with his own cowardice, his pride, and this growing sense that maybe truth, maybe even God whom he denied, is actually real and taking hold of him. It's a brutal internal battle.
And Mitya, condemned, in prison. Does he despair?
Surprisingly, no. He accepts the punishment, not because he thinks he did it, but because he knows he wanted to. He says he meant to kill him, and perhaps I really might have killed him.
Taking responsibility for the intention.
Yes, he feels he needs this blow of destiny to be purified. And even in prison, surrounded by peeling walls, he finds this incredible renewed thirst for existence, this hope for becoming a new man through suffering.
It's that Dostoevskian idea of redemption through suffering.
Absolutely central.
What about Alyosha? He seems like the one navigating this mess with some clarity.
Alyosha stays true to his path. He's the constant source of compassion. He firmly believes Mitya is innocent. He comforts Ivan in his illness. He holds on to the hope that Mitya will find that new man inside.
And he makes a decision about his own life.
Yes. Following Zosima's guidance, he decides to leave the monastery. He plans to marry Lissa, choosing to live out that infinite, universal, inexhaustible love actively in the messy real world. He embodies that engaged, compassionate faith.
And the story doesn't just end with the brothers. We get glimpses of the next generation, right? Kolya Krasotkin, Ilyusha Snegiryov.
That's really important, yeah. It shows the ripple spreading outwards. Kolya is this fascinating kid, smart, proud, already spouting socialist ideas. A kind of echo of Ivan, maybe, but different.
How so?
Well, he forms this bond with Alyosha, this poor, sick boy whose father was publicly humiliated by Mitya earlier. Kolya shows real empathy. He tries to cheer Alyosha up, brings him a dog, a toy cannon. It's about youthful connection, maybe forgiveness, emerging even from this tragedy.
And a hope.
Definitely a glimmer. It hints at the possibility of breaking the cycle, of finding a different path than the destructive Karamazov one. It connects the personal drama to broader societal questions, looking towards the future.
So when you pull back, this deep dive really shows how one family story, however extreme, becomes this crucible. It tests everything. Good versus evil, faith versus reason.
Damnation versus redemption, it's all in there.
And connecting it to the bigger picture.
It's timeless, isn't it? That struggle between freedom and security, or maybe freedom and responsibility. How much are we responsible for others, for the consequences of our ideas, even our unspoken desires?
And that journey to understanding ourselves, forgiving ourselves and others, it's messy.
Incredibly messy. And it shows that even in the depths, in the most degraded people, there can be this spark, this capacity for change, for spirit.
Well, you've just been through a pretty intense, deeply personal deep dive with us, thinking about the Karamazovs. What really stands out to you? What questions linger? What unexpiated tears maybe in your own understanding of things does this story bring up? Something to think about.